Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're digging into a figure who's stirred up a lot of strong opinions. Julian Nagelsmann. I mean, is he a genius pushing football into the future, or just really good at getting people talking?
You hit the nail on the head there. The debate about Nagelsmann is kind of built into his career, isn't it?
Okay, so let's break it down. Grifter or gifted?
We've got tons of articles, match reports, even some passionate fan takes to sort through. Should be fun.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. When Nagelsmann took Hoffenheim to the Champions League, that was a big deal. First time in the club's history, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it wasn't just that they got there, it was the way they played. You could already see those innovative tactics he's known for, like the inverted fullbacks.
That definitely got the attention of the bigger clubs.
Oh, for sure. And it leads us to that huge moment. Bayern Munich drops a record-breaking $25 million to bring him on board.
Talk about a statement. That's Bayern saying, we believe in this guy.
Yeah, it's a massive gamble for a club that's all about winning. It's them saying, we think he's the future.
But even that very first Bundesliga match with Bayern, against his old team Hoffenheim too, there was that retaken penalty.
Oh yeah, Bayern won in the end.
But it felt like, I don't know, a sign of things to come.
Yeah.
All that drama around VAR.
And how Nagelsmann reacted, you could already see that intensity. That's kind of his trademark.
Which brings us to one side of the argument. Is that fire, that outspokenness, all part of the show? Is it just a way to deflect when things go wrong?
Right. That's where some people start calling him a grifter.
Okay, let's talk tactics then, because that's where things get really interesting. Some say Nagelsmann's a tactical genius. Others, well, they say he overthinks things.
I mean, you've got matches like that 5-3 win against Augsburg in 2023, right before Bayern got knocked out of the Champions League.
5 goals. That's exciting football.
It was a wild one, total attacking flair, but then again, they let in 3 goals.
Yeah, that does suggest maybe the defense wasn't so solid.
Exactly. So was that Nagelsmann being too aggressive, too focused on outscoring the opponent instead of building a strong base?
What do you think?
Well, it's like you got to understand the why behind the tactics, right?
Are those defensive gaps part of the plan? A calculated risk? Or is there something fundamentally wrong with the system?
That's what we'll have to dig into.
All right, and then there's the elephant in the room. Nagelsmann's, how do we say it, people skills? There were all those reports about trouble at Bayern, not just with players, but the front office too.
Oh, yeah, which is especially interesting considering Nagelsmann himself once said coaching is, what was it, 30% tactics, 70% social competence.
Yeah, kind of ironic when you think about it. He knows how important people's skills are. Why are there all these issues? Is it a blind spot? Lack of self-awareness?
Maybe those same qualities that make him so build tactically, that drive to push boundaries, challenge everything. Maybe that also rubs people the wrong way.
It's like the classic visionary dilemma. Sometimes shaking things up means stepping on some toes.
Yeah.
And this takes us to that interesting point when there were rumors about him going to Tottenham Hotspur back in 2021. Some Spurs fans thought he was the answer. Others were already worried, saying he'd cause the same problems there that he had at Bayern.
It really makes you wonder how things would turn out if he'd gone there.
Totally different path.
Instead, he ended up taking the German national team job. Arguably even more pressure, more politics involved.
And of course, there was that racist survey incident in 2024.
Oh yeah, that ARD poll asking if people wanted more white players on the national team.
Just awful. But Nagelsmann's response was pretty strong. He didn't just condemn it. He really pushed back against it.
Yeah, he used his position to make a statement.
Yeah.
And then there was Joshua Kimmich's statement too.
Yeah, which Nagelsmann publicly supported, called it a very clear and thought-out statement.
Exactly. It showed a real commitment to fighting discrimination.
But then almost right after that, there was that blow-up with the referee during the Germany-Netherlands match.
Oh yeah, he was furious about some of the calls, said they cost Germany the game.
And he didn't hold back after the match either, even though his complaints were about the calls themselves, not the referee personally.
So is that passion genuine? Or is it calculated? A way to shift blame, play the victim a little?
It's like he thrives on that tension, being both praised and criticized at the same time.
Which brings us to the core question for this whole deep dive. Can someone who's always in the spotlight, who seems to like the drama, actually be a good leader?
We see the brilliance, the controversy, those whispers about his personality, but there's still more to uncover, especially about his time with the German national team. And that's where we're headed next.
So flashes of brilliance, yeah, some controversial moments for sure, but the question's still there. Is Nagelsmann building a legacy or just building his brand? Let's look at his time with the German national team because it gets even more complicated there.
It's interesting you say that because some people think taking that job was a calculated move, like a way to clean up his image after all the drama at Bayern.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially with how German football was doing at the time.
Right, they had a bad World Cup in 2022. The fans were down.
It was the perfect time for someone to come in and be the savior, shake things up.
And Nagelsmann definitely played into that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Talking about bringing back Germany's glory days, playing attacking football.
He did. It's like a politician promising to make things great again.
Exactly. But can he actually deliver? Is he really changing how Germany plays, or is it just, more sophisticated hype?
Well, let's see. That 2-0 win against Denmark in the Euro 2024 qualifiers, that felt like a statement.
Oh, yeah, they were in control the whole game, created tons of chances.
Total German efficiency. And that's where you see the gifted argument shining through, right?
His tactics were working.
Nagelsmann was adapting to Denmark's weaknesses. The players executed perfectly.
But then you have moments like that outburst at the referee during the Netherlands match. Yelling like that on such a big stage doesn't exactly say calm and collected leader, does it?
Nope. And that's where the grifter doubts come back. Was he actually frustrated, or was that a way to shift the blame, take the pressure off himself and the team?
Maybe it's both, right? He obviously cares a lot, but maybe sometimes he lets those emotions get the better of him.
It's a tough line to walk, and that's why Nagelsmann is so interesting to analyze. You can find evidence for both sides of the argument.
So how do we separate what's real from what's just for show? If someone's always pushing boundaries, is it for the right reasons or just for the attention?
It's the million-dollar question. And it's not just about Nagelsmann. It applies to any leader in any field who's kind of playing in that space where being charismatic and being controversial overlap.
Makes you think about all the other figures we've talked about on this show, right? The tech CEOs, the politicians, even the social media influencers.
Exactly. Are they really trying to make a difference, or are they just masters at promoting themselves?
And that's where you have to look deeper. It's not just about the headlines. You have to look at their actions, their decisions, how they impact the people around them.
That's what separates the real visionaries from the con artists.
But even then, it's not always clear-cut, is it? Sometimes that line between grifter and gifted is blurry.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly why we have to have these conversations. We've got to break down these complex figures and try to understand what makes them tick.
So back to Nagelsmann. We've talked about his tactics, his personality, how he gets people riled up. But there's one thing we haven't really talked about: results.
Right. Because at the end of the day, in football, you're judged on whether you win or lose. It doesn't matter how visionary Nagelsmann is. If he doesn't have the trophies to show for it, his legacy is going to take a hit.
And that's where things get interesting, right?
Yeah.
His time with the German national team has been a bit of a roller coaster.
It has. There's been progress, yeah, but also setbacks.
We've seen moments of that attacking, dominant football he promised.
Like that Denmark game.
Exactly. But we've also seen the team look, well, kind of lost at times.
Yeah.
Vulnerable on defense.
And let's not forget about that racist survey incident. Nagelsmann handled it well, but the fact that it happened at all points to a bigger problem in society.
Totally. It makes you think about the role of a national team manager in a situation like that. Is it enough to just condemn racism? Or does Nagelsmann have a responsibility to do even more, use his platform to fight against it?
It's complicated, and it's something we'll probably keep coming back to as we look at his career. But for now, let's focus on what happens on the pitch, because ultimately that's what's going to determine if he's remembered as a grifter or a gifted leader. And that's where our deep dive gets really interesting, because Nagelsmann's results with Germany, well, they've been a mixed bag.
Okay, so let's break that down. What have been the highs and lows? What are the key moments that are shaping how people see him?
On one hand, you've got those impressive wins, like that dominant performance against Denmark. But on the other, there have been some surprising losses. Games where the team looked tactically outmatched, just weak defensively.
And that inconsistency, that's what fuels the grifter narrative, doesn't it? If he's such a genius tactician, why can't he get the team to perform at a high level consistently?
Exactly. And it's not just the results themselves, it's how they got those results. There have been times when Germany just looked disjointed, like they didn't have a clear identity.
Which makes you wonder, are his tactical systems actually working?
Yeah, is he overthinking things? Is he trying to be too clever, too innovative, and forgetting about basic defense?
So is it style over substance? Is he more worried about playing attractive football than about getting the win no matter how it looks?
Again, it's not that straightforward. Because there have also been matches where Germany looked good defensively and offensively.
So which is it?
The challenge for Nagelsmann is finding that balance, building a team that can handle different opponents, different situations.
And this brings us right back to that grifter or gifted question.
Yeah.
If he's really a visionary, he's got to show that his ideas translate to consistent wins.
Absolutely. The next few years are going to be crucial for his legacy. If he can lead Germany to a major title, he'll shut down a lot of his critics. But if things stay inconsistent, those questions about his abilities are just going to get louder.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating. We're basically watching a manager's career unfold in real time, trying to figure out if he can live up to the hype.
And in part 3, we're going to explore the specific challenges and opportunities that are coming up for Nagelsmann. We'll analyze his squad, his tactics, and his potential rivals as we try to answer that big question: is he the one to take Germany back to the top?
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Julian Nagelsmann. This guy, he's always pushing the limits, right? On the pitch, off the pitch, everywhere. But the big question is, can he actually make his vision for German football a reality?
That's what's going to define his legacy for sure. And to figure that out, we've got to look at what he's up against, what opportunities he's got. Leading a national team, it's not just about tactics, it's a whole different ballgame. There's politics, expectations, personalities to manage.
Yeah, let's start with the squad itself. Germany's always had amazing players. But lately it feels like that golden generation is fading. Can Nagelsmann bring in a new wave of stars, players who can compete at the top level?
That's the challenge, right? For any national team manager. Nagelsmann, he's not afraid to try new things. We've seen him give younger players a chance. But the real test is building a team, a unit, that's more than just individual talent.
And that's where his tactics come in. We've talked about how he loves those complex systems, the inverted fullbacks, the focus on attacking. But can that work at the international level? The stakes are so much higher.
International football, it's a different animal, yeah. You don't have the players every day. You've got limited time to prepare. And your opponents, they're usually super organized.
So does that mean Nagelsmann needs to simplify things? Find a balance between all that attacking and, actually defending?
It's a tough one. If he gets rid of what makes him him, he loses that spark, that thing that made Bayern and the German team want him in the first place.
Right. It's about finding a way to adapt his system to international football without losing his identity as a manager. Sounds pretty tough.
It is. But if anyone can do it, it's probably someone with Nagelsmann's tactical brain.
But tactics aren't everything, right?
Yeah.
You got to create a winning culture, an environment where players are motivated, they believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's where those questions about his people skills come back again.
Exactly. Those rumors about him clashing with people, being difficult to work with.
Can he build that sense of unity, that trust within the team, or are those same problems from Bayern going to follow him? We'll have to see.
And then there's the competition. International football is more competitive than ever. France, Spain, England, they've all got amazing players. Can Nagelsmann's Germany get back on top?
That's the ultimate test, the one that'll probably determine how he's remembered. If he wins a World Cup or a European Championship, he'll silence the doubters, be seen as one of the greats. But if he can't get those results, those questions about whether he's all style and no substance, they're just going to keep coming.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it feels like we're left with more questions than answers, doesn't it?
It does.
Is Julian Nagelsmann a true visionary, or is he just really good at self-promotion? Only time will tell.
But one thing's for sure, he's a fascinating guy. He's ambitious, creative, not afraid to shake things up. Love him or hate him, he makes football more interesting to watch.
And that's what makes this whole grifter or gifted debate so interesting. It makes you think about what it means to be a leader, what real success looks like, how you leave a mark on the world. As we watch Nagelsmann's career unfold, it's worth asking, what does true greatness look like? How can you tell the difference between someone who's actually changing the game and someone who's just after fame and money?
Because in a world where charisma and controversy often go together, being able to see through the hype and recognize genuine talent is more important than ever.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Julian Nagelsmann, grifter or gifted. Let us know on social media and make sure to subscribe to Grifter or Gifted for more deep dives into the most polarizing figures of our time. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.